that you do your module by day, because otherwise your modules are going to get super long, right? If you're trying to do language arts, spelling, math, content, whatever else you're teaching that day, the modules are going to get pretty long. So we did recommend that you break those up by day. 5 and up, it's kind of up to you. The guidance on that was basically follow whatever your curriculum guide is or however you're pacing. So you may do it by unit, you might do it by chapter, by topic, by theme, by week. And I think some of this is going to be trial and error as well. So you may start with one method, and then as you move through the quarter, realize that's not working, and then you're going to change it up, and that's okay. The main thing is that your students and for elementary, the parents know how you have your modules organized. So we do recommend, making that part of your first days of school when you're going over your class policies and procedures, that you also include, here's my Canvas course, here's how my modules are organized, this is how I'm going to name them, just so they get a good idea of how to navigate that, because it may be different teacher to teacher, especially for secondary when they're changing teachers. It's really good to introduce them to how your course is going to be organized. There's no length requirement on a module. A module can have one thing in it, it can have 100 things in it. It's really up to you. There is a text header feature in modules that I'll show you, which kind of helps you break up your module a little bit. So for example, if I wanted to do a module by unit, I could use text headers to break up each chapter or each part within that unit to make it a little more easy for students to find that. All right. One thing that we keep seeing happen is teachers want to turn off modules in their navigation because they have a link like to the current lesson or the previous lessons. Those links will not work if you have modules turned off. Everything else it works for. So I can have pages turned off and I can have a link to a page and it will open up just fine. But for whatever reason, modules will not. So you do always have to make sure that you have modules on in your navigation. The other thing that is tripping people up a little bit, if you don't have any modules published, even if I turn modules on, it's not going to appear for students and it will have the little crossed out eyeball there because you just don't have one published, basically. So don't freak out if you think like, I turned it on, why isn't it popping up? It's just because you don't have one published yet. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to modules. When you have no modules, you'll see like the add module button kind of here in the middle, but then once you start getting them, you're always, just like everything else in Canvas, you're looking for this add button here on the top. And you can always edit your module name later. You also have this lock until feature, which is pretty cool because what this lets you do is publish your module ahead of time, but lock it so that students can't access it until a specific day and time. So if you're worried about forgetting to publish your module the day that students need it, we've all done it, you can use this lock until and then publish it right away, but students won't be able to access the module until the specific day and time that you selected there. And then I can add that module. Whenever you add a new module or anything to a module, it always defaults to the bottom. So this is something else that can trip people up. I thought I just created one. Where did it go? It goes to the bottom every single time. And the same thing when you add things to the module. You can move modules and you can move things within modules. This double bar here, when you hover over it, it's going to give you the crosshairs and you can just drag it wherever you need to. Now, once you get a lot of modules, it gets really tricky to drag it all the way up to the top. I like keep dropping it and having to grab it again. So the other thing you can do out on the right here in your more options menu, there's a move module option. And then you can just move it to the top before another module, after another module. etc., and it'll just jump right back up there. Which, if you've ever had the experience of dragging one from a very long list all the way to the top, you know what I'm talking about. It's going to be a huge time saver for you. Once your module is created, just like everything else in Canvas, you've got the publish, unpublish. Because I've locked this until August 25th, I can go ahead and publish it now, and the students aren't going to see anything because it's not unlocked yet. So then I don't have to worry about doing that later. To add things to your module, you can add here, but I'm going to stick to the old way. This appeared over the summer. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. So I'm going to hit the plus sign over here. So add module is adding a whole new module. So a new chapter, a new unit, a new day, a new week. This plus sign is putting things inside of that module. We noticed that a lot of teachers didn't realize this was actually a drop down, and so people were just using assignments for everything, but this is actually a drop down, and so you can put a lot of different types of content into a module. So you can do an assignment, but you can also do a quiz, a file, a page, a discussion. An assignment typically means students are submitting something to Canvas. So a lot of times, especially at the elementary level, what you're really looking for is a page, because you're just providing them content, like you're just typing directions or you're putting a video on there. In that case, if they're not turning anything in, I would just put it in as a page. If you do want them to turn something in, then you would use an assignment. A little funky note about quizzes right now. If you are using new quizzes rather than classic quizzes, you can't create the quiz through the module here. So if I select a quiz and want to do a new quiz, it's going to default to a classic quiz. So you actually have to create the new quiz first and then add it to the module. So you'll see here when I choose assignment, for example, I can create a brand new assignment, but I can also select anything I've already got created. So you can reuse things over and over again in modules. New quizzes are still going to be in assignments. So this is a new quiz that I created, conveniently named new quiz, so I would remember which one that was. So if I want to put a new quiz in a module, I have to go out to quizzes, create the new quiz first, and then pull it down from my list of assignments, not quizzes, which that will all be fixed at some point when new quizzes goes live. But everything else is pretty much the same page. I can either choose one of the pages that I already have, or I can create a new page. And this piece is pretty counterintuitive to me. People don't realize, like, you just click on it and then create the name. So that gets a little odd. So I think Nicole, Kim, and I tend to create through the module this way. We do the new things first, but you can also, you know, go out to pages, go out to discussions, create those things, and then add what you already have created. You can do it either way, whichever is your preference. Nicole or Kim, do you have any thoughts or anything to add on anything I've said thus far?
No, I think we're good. We don't have any questions out of there in the chat, at least.
They're just mesmerized.
Same, I'm all good.
Okay, thank you. All right. When you put things in modules, if you delete the module or delete the things in the module, they don't actually get deleted from your course. So for example, if I delete this e-learning day attendance activity out of my module, but then I go to quizzes, it's still here because I haven't actually deleted it out of the course. So if you really want to delete something completely out of your course, you kind of have to delete it twice. Or you can just delete it here and then it will automatically remove from the module. Even if I delete the whole module, all of these pieces in the module will still be in my course other than the link because that's not located anywhere else. But the Canvas pieces like the discussion, pages, and assignments here, those will still be in my course. So it's better to delete them from assignments, pages, and discussions if you actually want them deleted from your course, not just out of that module. In terms of sharing modules, you can share, it's a little easier to share the things within the module than it is to share the entire module. So if you're not familiar with this, actually, let me go out here. So all of these pieces in my module, I can send directly to somebody else. So if I wanted to share this home page with someone, I can click send to, and I can send this directly to Nicole and anybody else I want to. I can also copy it directly to another one of my courses. So send to sends to another person, copy to sends to another one of your courses. Unfortunately, you can't do that with modules. So with modules, if I wanted to send this to somebody else, I could share that module directly to the Commons, and then they can pull in that entire module. I would just have to let them know. If I want to share this to another one of my courses or to a shell course maybe that my team is on, I can do that through the import. So you would just do, if I was in the other course, import existing content, and then you can import the entire module at once, and it will also import all of those pieces within the module.
Gina, we have a question from
Yep.
Aubrey. She wanted to know, she said,
Hi,
can the
Aubrey.
person who sent it make changes, and would it change the original? So basically, like, you know, is it going to edit the original version after you send it? And then is it basically their own copy when they get it in their course?
My understanding is that yes, it is your own copy. That's the story I've been telling, and no one has told me otherwise. So yes, that is the case. Once you pull it into your course, it's yours.
Aubrey,
Now-
did you do it correctly? Is that what you were asking?
Say what?
I was just checking with Aubrey to make sure her question was
Oh.
answered.
On the other side of that, if I share something to the Commons and update it, then anybody who has pulled it into their course would get a notification that says, like, this has been updated. Do you want to update it? If it's been updated in the Commons too. So people don't typically use that feature very often, but that's there as well. All right, going through my list here. Text headers, one of your options here. All it is text. There's really nothing clickable on it, but it just kind of helps you break up a longer module. So you can move things, you know, if you're doing a week module or a chapter or unit, whatever, and you can create these text headers to kind of break that up a little bit. There's really not much you can do visually with a module other than, you know, using all caps or using the indent option. So you do have an indent option here. So I could have, you know, day one left aligned, but then anything I put under day one, I could indent to kind of visually set it off that, you know, this is the heading and then this goes underneath it. And that's really about all you can do visually in a module to kind of signal to students how things are organized there. All right. So if you see up at the top here, I have this view progress button. The reason I have this view progress button is because I have a module with requirements. So this says complete all items. That tells me that this module has requirements. This one doesn't say that, so there are no requirements here. Requirements in a module allow you to kind of force students through a specific sequence. So they have to move through your module in order instead of just clicking on things. This kind of causes an issue because if you're familiar with the to-do list that pops up on student dashboards, all of the teachers at the high school hate it because it pops up and tells students, you know, you have this assignment to do, but it pulls it out of the context of the module. And so students miss important pieces in the module if they just jump to that assignment. Well, by using requirements in your module, it won't allow students to open those individual pieces without going through the module. So even if the to-do list says you have this assignment and the student clicks on it, it will say you can't access it. Like basically you need to go back to the module and work through the sequence until you get to that piece. And no, there is not any way to turn off the to-do list. I've asked our Canvas rep several times. It is a well-known issue that all teachers hate the to-do list, but yet there it is. So to add requirements, you're going to click the menu options all the way to the right of the module name here. And then you're going to edit. So this is where I can change the module name if I need to. I can change the lock or add a lock. And then here are the requirements that I have set. So I'm just going to kind of clear these and show you what this looks like. So without requirements, you're just going to see this add requirements button. And then you have choice. Students must complete all of these requirements. And then also students must move through in a sequence. So if you just want them to complete all the requirements in the module, but it's really not important that they work through a particular order, you can uncheck that box. You also have the option of students must complete one of these requirements. So if you were giving students choice, like you could do this activity or this activity, you can use that option as well. The most I see used is the top. So students must complete all of these and work through this sequence. So once you do that, you're going to get a drop down of everything that's in that particular module. So you'll have to have the module built already. You'll have all of your pieces in there, at least them created. They may not be completely done. That's okay. As long as they're created in there, you can go ahead and put in your requirements. So the first thing in my module, and these may not be in order, so that gets tricky as well. You have to know what you actually, the order that you actually have in your module. So this is the first thing I have in my module. And then I have a second drop down. What do I want students to do with this piece of content in order to move on to the next piece? So this is just a page. You can just have them view the item, which means they've just opened it, or you can ask them to do an extra step, which is to mark it as done. So they would actually tap like the check mark next to it on the module. I really like that because I think it just helps students visually, especially if it's a module that they are working through over a few days maybe. Every time they open that module, they can see what they've already checked off, and then they can jump right to the next thing. So that I really like that feature, especially for secondary students. But I mean, it's good for elementary too, because it's that physical act of like checking something off when it's done. Now, this is only one of the things in my module, so I need to keep adding. Not everything in your module has to be part of the requirements. So if you have 6 things in your module, but you really only want to make 2 of them requirements, you can do that. You don't have to do every single piece in there. It's just whatever you want to do. So I think this was next. We'll see. So now because this is an assignment, I have additional options here. I want them to submit the assignment, or you can even do score at least, which for an assignment is kind of tricky since you have to manually grade it. But if it was a Canvas quiz, you can have them score at least, like you have to score at least 80% before you can move on to the next thing. And then you would set the quiz so that they could take it multiple times, basically. Otherwise, they can't move on. So for this, it's just an assignment. I would do submit the assignment. And then just kind of keep moving through their discussions. This time, you could do contribute to the page, submit the assignment, or again, score doesn't really work with discussions very well since you have to manually grade it. They would be waiting for you to grade it before they can move on to the next thing, which depending on what you're doing, that may or may not work. So once you have those done, you can update. So this does get a little tricky. You can X these out one at a time, but you can't like reorder them. So if you don't get them in the right order, you have to change all of the drop downs. Then they're done that way too many times. So I usually write out the order of my module, or if you can move this, which I can't right now, then you can kind of see what's on your screen so you get it in the right order. And then I update. So when you have this complete all items, you'll see it will tell students what they have to do. So it'll be right underneath the title. So now this says students have to mark it as done. They have to submit this. They have to submit this. I did not make this last piece part of those requirements. So I don't have any students in this course, so I can't show you what view progress really looks like with students. So I'm going to pull up just the Canvas guide really quickly so you can see what this looks like. So with the module with requirements, when you click on view progress at the top, you're actually going to get a list of all of your students in your class. And then when you click on a student, it will show you each module and the pieces underneath it. So it basically lets you know how far they've gotten in that module. This to me is more beneficial if you're doing kind of like self-paced learning where students are working through a longer module and kind of working at their own pace. You can go in and check on them at any time. So rather than opening up each individual piece for the student to see where they are, you can use that module progress and get the student view rather than looking at the individual piece. So for this student, I want to see how far they've gotten in this module, what they've scored on each individual piece, but all in one view. So that's a really cool tool. Again, especially for your remote learners who are kind of working through those things on their own, using that requirements and then the module progress, I think will be really helpful. Any questions or comments before I move on?
There are none of that. So
How many people are asleep?
I can't tell. Maybe 4.
Okay, is Coach asleep in the back?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Just as a side note, I got great feedback from parents when I did set those module requirements. It helps really with visuals for the students to see where they were at, especially for younger students. It helps them to kind of organize what they were doing in the module.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we can't force them to read or watch a video. So if they click a page and open it or mark it as done, it's going to allow them to move on. Canvas doesn't have like eye scanning software to make sure they're actually reading or watching your videos that you put in, but they at least have to click on it and go through the motions before they go to the next piece. And then the last thing I want to show you are module prerequisites. And this, again, is something to maybe think about long-term if we keep doing remote learning, throughout maybe second quarter, which I hope we don't, but who knows. So a module requirement are the requirements within one module. Module prerequisites force students to complete a module before they move to the next module. So you won't even see module prerequisites as an option unless you have more than one module in your course. And so that's kind of at the top here. So all you're doing is choosing a module. So, I realize that my modules make no sense. I have Romeo and Juliet and environmental science, but bear with me here. And so they would have to complete this entire module, which could also have requirements in it before they get to the next module. So again, this would be something really great for enrichment activities that students are just kind of working through on their own, or any kind of self-directed learning. You have to complete this module before you move on to the next module. And you can make the last thing in the module something that you manually have to grade, which kind of in essence allows you to manually unlock the next module for them. Like, we need to do a progress check. So the last thing is going to be a reflection that the student writes, but they can't move on until I've scored that reflection. And so a lot of flexibility in there. And then I don't want to get too much into mastery paths. I just want to mention its existence because it can be a little overwhelming to understand the first time. But a mastery path is something that you can add to a module, which will allow you to differentiate instruction generally based on skill level, but there are also some hacks you can do. So my module might start with a diagnostic quiz in Canvas. And depending on how students score, they'll be shot down one of 3 different learning paths that are all within that same module. And the cool thing is they only see their learning path. So on the teacher end, I might see 20 different activities in there. Students are only going to see the 3 or 4 activities that are assigned to them based on how they scored on that quiz. So again, I don't want to get too much into that. Just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. And if that is something that you want to dig into this year, just let one of us know. I believe on the Duneland eLearning Academy course, I believe we actually have a module on Mastery Paths. So if that's something you want to explore, check it out. It's a really powerful tool, but it can be a little overwhelming the first time that you use it. And that's it. I'm back. Oh, they've all turned their cameras off, so we don't know they're sleeping. Thank you, Mike Stiles, for not turning your camera off. Do you guys have any questions?
I have one.
Sure.
So I'm the new speech therapist, and I just got access to Canvas today. So how do I create courses?
You should not need to create courses, Alex. How late are you staying? Because you're in my building, right? You're at the high school?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay, how late are you here today?
I was probably gonna stay till like 3,
Okay.
like another half hour.
I
can stay later.
No, I don't want to make you do that. What room are you in?
I'm in senior hallway. Hang on.
Oh, the good old days when you didn't know where you were.
Yeah, I'm in conference room B, like right, I think it's Miss Mundell's room.
Okay. I will, when we're done here, I will run down to you live before my next appointment.
Okay.
Hi, Aubrey. Kurt. Congratulations. I meant to email you.
Thank you.
Aubrey was a student teacher here. Now she's at WIS. Very exciting.
Great. Jana, I want to create a homepage other than just with buttons. Is there a site I can go to that will give me directions as opposed to you just going through it with me right now?
Yes. Do you know how to get to that Duneland eLearning Academy Canvas page?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
There is a whole module on that I think Kim, Chelsea, and Lauren put together.
Great. And is there somewhere else I can go to be shown how to create a quiz?
I would just use the Canvas guides for quizzes, Mike.
Okay. All right.
So Mike, you can reach out to me. We can set something up after you take a peek at some of those things. So shoot me an email, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks, Nicole.
No problem.
Anybody else? Hi, Brooke. My teachers are all planning on calling on students during meets when they have their cameras off. I was testing it out to see if it would work on you guys. All right, that's all I got. Please, you're welcome, Christy. Thank you. Shoot us an email if you need anything, and hopefully this was a good refresher, or maybe gave you some other ideas on how to use modules. And I think we've got discussions tomorrow morning, and then Google Cloud stuff on Monday if you want to join us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, bye guys.
Thank you, Jana.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye, Rob.